which is such a simple thing that so frequently leads people to suffer and struggle with anxiety and stress and overwhelm and even despair if it's allowed to dominate and overwhelm enough. So it's basically where your source of motivation comes from. And we are motivated fundamentally by two things. We've got pain and pleasure, and we want to get away from pain and we want to move towards pleasure. And so you can also look at this in terms of being either away from motivated or towards motivated. And all of us have both of these inside of us, but whichever one tends to dominate is the one that's going to dictate, one, how successful you are, but two, how much stress and anxiety and overwhelm you experience in your life. And what we find is that when people are predominantly away from motivated, that's what causes the problems. That's what causes people to remain stuck. And some of the really common ones that we come across with our clients are perfectionism is a classic one, where you're constantly asking yourself, what else is wrong? What else is wrong? What else isn't good enough in me, in my work, in what I'm doing? Overanalyzing and chronic worry, where you're constantly asking what if questions. What if that happens? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you're constantly worrying about anything and everything that could happen. And none of that's based on probability of what's likely to happen. It's based on what would be terrible if it did happen. So again, that's away from motivated. Also, people pleasing is another one where you're basically violating your own values and your own standards in order to be liked by other people. One of the biggest lies of the people pleaser is that they tell themselves that they're always putting everybody else first. In truth, you're putting yourself first, because what you're doing is your primary motivation is to avoid being judged or criticized or avoid people thinking badly of you. It's first and foremost doesn't have other people's best interests at heart. It's self-protection, essentially. But every single one of these are very common examples of being away from motivated. And so if you think about your motivation to push yourself in your career, in your business, or in anything else that you want to do in life, even the chores that you do at home, what's your primary motivation behind that? Is it moving away from something? Is it fear of what could happen in the future and things that you want to avoid in the future? Or is it trying to escape emotional pain or discomfort that you're feeling right now? Such as the ones that I used just now, such as perfectionism, overanalyzing, people-pleasing, chronic worry, those kinds of things. And so if all of your decisions, every single time that you sit down and you push yourself hard to complete a project, if your motivation is to avoid being criticized by your boss or avoid your colleagues or your clients thinking badly of you, or if it's all based on worry about losing business in the future, if all of your decision points are made from that away from orientation, then your motivation is going to be a massive source of stress. Massive source of stress. You're going to feel overwhelmed, and you're inevitably going to experience a lot of anxiety. And if that's allowed to grow and amplify in your life, then that can lead to despair. So what we want is predominantly to be towards oriented and towards motivated. And all of that comes down to having real clarity on what you want, why you want it, and who you are, what you stand for, where you're going in life. Having a real kind of clear, big vision for yourself, your life, and the life that you want to create, the life that you want to move towards, and your values as well. What's important to you, what's most important to you. And that all of your decision points are driven fundamentally by what you're moving towards. Now, of course, there's going to be times when the away from motivations are a factor, but when the primary focus for your mind, the first place that your thoughts and your mind and your focus goes to first thing in the morning and consistently throughout the day, when that comes from being towards motivated and what you're motivated to moving towards, then that's going to be a very quick antidote to a lot of the stress and the overwhelming anxiety that you may have been suffering.